friend, welcome. If we haven't met yet, I'm Jen. I'm a part-time online clothing reseller, which means I go to thrift stores, I buy used clothes, I list them on eBay and Poshmark, and I sell them for a profit. I want to share with you today how much money I actually made in December. I'm going to be very realistic with all of my numbers and share with you the revenue, the gross numbers, profit numbers, how much I actually made per hour, and just some other kind of random things. So first, a caveat, my big butt, if you will, is that I am a part-time reseller. I do this part-time. It is extra money for our family. It's important money, but it's extra. I'm not paying our mortgage. I'm not buying our groceries. I am not the primary breadwinner, if you will, for our family. I sell mostly clothes. My top category was clothing. My second category, like my top category bar graph line was this big, and my second category was like this big. So definitely, and I don't even remember what my second category was. So I sell mostly clothing. I sell mostly women's clothing. In fact, I got an email saying that I'm in the top 5% of women's clothing reseller in I forget which category. I think it was tops or sweaters, and I thought that was kind of cool. I don't know what that means, but I'm in the top 5% of something on eBay. I sell primarily on eBay, a little bit on Poshmark, and even more a little bit on Depop and Curtsy, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. So I sold primarily sweaters, women's sweaters, and then women's tops. Men's pants was my third top category in December. And then men's sweaters, most of those were vintage sweaters, and then women's coats, which I don't think I really sold a lot of women's coats. My top brands this month, I think it's kind of interesting how it changes from month to month, but vintage was my top brand, and that makes sense because I did sell quite a few vintage sweaters. Carhartt was my second top brand category, and I don't know, I just didn't remember selling that much Carhartt. But Torrid, that is one of my bread and butter brands, and unbranded was one of my top brand categories. And Vera Bradley, I did sell a couple Vera Bradley bags this month. December, I keep saying this month. I'm talking about December of 2024. It is a new year, so I'm a little discombobulated. 65% of my sales were on eBay, 66% were on eBay, 25% on Poshmark, 7% on Depop, and 2% on Curtsy. Curtsy, I'm gonna let go because it just connects to my Poshmark account, and so I don't really have to do anything for that. But I'm trying to decide if it's worth the effort that I'm putting into cross-list on to Depop, if that's worth the 7% of my sales that it made. All right, so what you really want to know is how much I made. So I sold 158 items. That was down 162 items was the amount I sold in November, so 4 less. I sold a gross profit or a gross amount of $3,597.40 in December. So those 158 items, that includes everything that the buyer paid to me. So they would have paid on eBay and Depop, they would have paid shipping costs to me, and then the amount of the item. I do not have to worry about taxes because the platforms take care of that. That is one of the reasons I pay them fees, and one of the reasons I'm happy to pay them fees. I don't have to worry about sales tax and how to deal with all the different state sales taxes. I can just let them deal with it, and I'm happy to do that. I only listed 68 items in December. There's a lot of reasons for that. I should have listed about 130. That would have been 5 items a day, 6 days a week. But I just didn't get to that. I had listed 149 in November, so that was significantly less. My average sale price was pretty low at $22.77. Usually it's around 26, 25, 27. In November it was $26.39, so almost $4 less. Now I did run a clearance sale, and so I think that that has a lot to do with it, because I did sell quite a few higher priced items in December as well. All right, the profit, that's the important part, right? What do I actually get to keep of that $3,597? Well, I have to take out all the money that I paid for the platform fees. So any fees from Curtsy, Depop, Poshmark, and eBay all have to be taken out. Anything that I pay for shipping, so all of my shipping fees on eBay, if you do Poshmark discounted shipping, that would be taken out. I don't do discounted shipping on Poshmark, but if you did, that would be accounted as there as well. And then also my eBay labels, the shipping labels that I paid for on eBay. And then I also have to take out the cost of goods. How much did the item that I sold, how much did that actually cost me? Because I had to pay something for that sometimes. Sometimes I get them for free, which is always fun. When I take out my shipping costs, my fees, and my cost of goods, my profit is $2,043.51. That's my goal, almost right smack on. I aim for $67 a day, which is $2,000 a month, which gives me extra money for our family. So 1,000 of that goes into our family's budget. 500 gets saved for taxes, because this is taxable income. That's important, and that's coming up soon. So those taxes will be due. And then usually about 500, give or take, it varies from month to month, but about a quarter of my income, my profit, I use to go back into the business. So for me, I do consider this a business. Some people might consider it a job or a side hustle or a hobby. However it's considered, there are still costs that go along with running that. So this costs for me include, sorry, I got distracted by my dog. She's just sitting here. What are you doing? This is Layla, if you've not met her. She was in some of my very early videos, but now that I do all my videos in my garage, she's never out there. So she's an old lady. This is Layla. She's a boxer and she's 10. Okay, well, after that distraction, sorry. I generally use about $500 to put back into my business. So for me, that looks like subscriptions. I pay for Vendu, which is where I get most of my information. That's how I keep track of my inventory, and that's how I cross list. I also that cost me $25 a month. There have been times that I've kicked it up to a bigger subscription, but right now I do the 125 items a month, $25 subscription. I also use Prime Lister. That is for sharing and sending offers on Poshmark. So that is how my automation tool for Poshmark. I love that. It's a set it and forget it, and I literally forget about it most of the time. I also have my eBay store subscription. I do probably have one that is too large for me right now. So I need to look into that, but right now I pay about $50. I didn't look at the exact number. I think it's 52, but it's about $50. So all in all, about $100 for the subscriptions that I use. I also have to get new inventory. I did very little thrifting in December. I went to the bins twice. Both of my daughter, we went in groups to a dentist in Indianapolis, and I went to the bins both times with a couple sets of kids. We were just there for a few hours. I actually showed those videos, so that was kind of fun. But I went to the bins twice. I had another appointment in Fort Wayne, and we stopped at a thrift store up there once. And then I had 2 receipts from Goodwill from the very beginning of the month that I don't even remember going in. So I don't think I got anything super exciting, but my total inventory cost for December is $184.93. Now, you may notice that I count my cost of goods twice, and I do. That I don't count it that way when I'm doing my taxes, but when I'm doing my numbers like this, it's just, for me, the easiest way to do it. So I do count my cost of goods in the beginning when I take out all my costs for like fees and shipping. And then I also take them out here where I've spent for all of the items that I've bought in that month. That's probably not the right way to do it, but that's the way I do it. I also had to buy some shipping labels that cost $10. So my total expenses for the month were $294.93. Now there are other expenses. I'm kind of thinking about this. I don't usually talk about this a lot in these like breakdown videos, but because it's the new year, I'm starting to think about taxes. There are other expenses that I will submit for tax purposes that will bring down my taxable income. So like mileage is one. I am able to use some of my square footage of my home. I am able to use some travel expenses, like food when I'm thrifting out of town. Now, I am not telling you what to do for taxes. I'm not a tax professional. I just go by what my accountant tells me, and that's what I do, and that's what I would suggest you do. If you have tax questions, but I'm just telling you, I guess, because my mind is thinking about it, like I need to start getting I'm not great at paperwork, so I need to start getting all my receipts together and gathering these up and making totals and writing out my whole list for what I need to give to my accountant. All right, so if I take those expenses, the $294.93, and subtract that from my profit number, which was $2,043.51, that makes my total $1,748.58, which is not bad. So how does that break down for me? I am a stay-at-home mom. I have 4 kids. I homeschool my kids. I have other kind of side hustles, part-time jobs, I don't know, gigs, whatever, hobbies. I'm a person. There's things that we do, right? So how much time do I actually spend reselling? I'm going to give you an average, and I'm going to tell you that December was not I didn't work a lot, and I'll talk about that. On average, I spend about 6 hours a week shipping. It takes me about an hour to run all my labels and then to do a ship with me video and get those sent off to the post office. I do have mail pickup, so I make sure that my packages are ready to go when my mail carrier gets here, and he just takes them off my front porch, and it's wonderful. So I don't have to go to and from the post office every day, which is nice. So I spend about an hour. Some days it's more, some days it's less, but on average, it's an hour. I spend about an hour a day listing. That changes also. Right now I'm listing a lot less than the hour is usually when I'm listing about 20 items. And when I'm taking my time, I do delist and relist about 20 to 30 items every day. Usually, when it takes me an hour, I like to go through and make sure that change things up and make sure all my listings are correct. Right now, just because of the time that I'm in my life, I have just been clicking a button on Vendu and letting that kind of auto delist and relist. So I spend 3 hours listing. 6 hours listing. So I do list 6 days a week. I list currently 5 items on eBay, cross-list 5 items to Poshmark, and 3 or 4 to Depop. I generally, through the fall, I had doubled that, but once the holidays hit, I just backed down just to make room for my life. I realized that I have the privilege of doing that, and I do want to say that I understand that. So I spend about 6 hours a week photographing. Usually I do that in batches, so there's 2 afternoons. I will spend about 6 hours a week, or I'm sorry. Let me get my brain situated. The coffee is not helping. 2 days a week, I spend about 3-hour chunk of time in the afternoon photographing. I keep things in bins, so I have tops all together, pants all together, and things that I do in a flat lay, so like belts and bras and shoes that I don't hang on a hanger. And I will batch do a bunch of photographs at a time. That's generally about 6 hours a week. And then depending on the week, I will spend anywhere from 6 to 12 hours thrifting. It's more like 4 to 12 hours. If I go just in town, it's usually about 4 hours and I'm done. If I leave and I go to Indianapolis, it generally is more of an all-day affair, and so I'm gone for 12 hours or sometimes even more. So based on that, that's 24 to 30 hours. I know in December, I did not work very much. Like I said, I did a lot less listing, so it was not taking me an hour. I would say it probably took me a half an hour at most to list. And I did not do much thrifting at all. The thrifting that I was doing was kind of already attached to trips that we were already taking to, appointments and whatnot. So because of that, I'm going to go on the lower end here and say that I worked 24 hours a week. I also took a complete break starting, I think, December 20th. So a whole third of the month, I literally did nothing, which was really good and really needed. And I've talked about that on some of my more recent videos, if you're curious, but I did not work much at all. So 24 hours a week, 4 weeks in a month. Last month I got a text from my mom who said, "You do know that there's 4.3 weeks in a month, right?" And I said, "Yes, I do know that." Just for ease, I just say 4 weeks. And also knowing that there are, especially in this month, I did not work all of those weeks anyway. So if I divide it by 4, it is $437.15 a week that I earned, which divided by 24 hours a week is $18 per hour. Hopefully my crazy math and my workarounds and my estimates made sense to you. If not, please ask questions in the comments. I am happy to help as much as I can. I don't know why I said happy that many times, but I did. Now, usually I do a daily ship with me video and I share what has sold. And Layla, you're just really right in the way, aren't you, babe? I share what has sold on a daily basis. I ship every day, so I just set up my video and chat with you while I'm shipping, and I really enjoy that. If that's something that's interesting to you and you might find interesting, make sure you subscribe. And I did not do a ship with me video today because I didn't sell anything yesterday, which is very disappointing. But somebody pointed out to me in a comment yesterday of yesterday's video that January for a lot of people is a no buy or a no spend month. And then I had some other content come up through YouTube as I was watching earlier today that, kind of solidified that thought. And so I'm curious. I was looking back last year and I did not hit my $2,000 goal in January of last year. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I am kind of playing with the idea of doing another listing challenge. I did that last year in August, and that really was helpful for me to have some accountability to make sure I really was listing every day, whereas, you know, in December, I clearly was not. So I'm kind of playing around with that idea, and kind of January is also usually when I do an inventory purge, and I will go through and take out probably 90% of the items that I listed in 2023. So over a year old. There are some items that I just know are going to be more long tail, take longer to sell, just because of the nature of the item. I will probably recomp some of those items I have listed for $50 or more. I may go through and look at some of my more bread and butter brands like Torrid, and, you know, see if I have like items and like sizes that I can combine together. But I will take some time in January to kind of do a purge of my inventory. Trying to think if there's anything else. I don't really have goals for 2025. I'm not, it's a very complicated, a complicated way to say, way to go about it, but I'm kind of not goal oriented. I kind of am, but, yeah, it's a long story. But goals don't work well for me. Maybe that's more what I should say. Goals don't work very well for me long term, to say like I have a goal for this year. So I am trying to have good habits, and daily listing habits would be one of them. So I have, with being off for so long, gotten out of the habit. Yesterday I was pretty good getting my listings done. I got those done today as well. Just trying to do my daily routine and make sure that the things that I need to get done are done. So I think that's all I wanted to say. I would love to hear, one, how December went for you, and two, do you have goals? Just because I don't set goals doesn't mean you shouldn't. If you do you have goals? What are your goals? I would love to hear. Share with me if you feel comfortable in the comments, and what your goals are for reselling, or maybe for other areas of your life. If you just want some accountability or some encouragement, I would love to cheer you on. So, all right, I think that's all. I think that's the third time I've said that. So make sure you like the video. If you liked it, subscribe if you haven't already. I think we already went over that. So thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate you. I'll see you soon.